6 AI agents, each built with a unique edge. Miko, AI, Team Leader. Ori AI, Fundamental Analyst. XAU, AI, Technical Analyst. Mesa, AI, Risk Management Specialist. Fenwa, AI Market Sentiment Analyst. And Naledi AI, the cryptocurrency expert. Together, they're engineered to protect, guide, and transform your trading. The future of trading is here. Experience Zentrix AI.
Okay, what's up people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always guys, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, all that good stuff does really help us out. But we are starting off very interesting. What is up, money bags? Welcome to the stream. Hope you are doing good. So I am keeping a very close eye on a couple of pairs right now. I really like what I'm seeing with dollar yen, and I'm really like what I'm seeing with euro dollar as well. I'm looking for some intraday opportunities at the moment. Looking to go with a bit of dollar weakness at the moment. That's really the plan. Again, the long-term view, I am looking to attack USD strength. That's more of the swing buys for the week, but it is Monday. It is London session, fairly early on in the week. So I do think this long bias will play out closer to midweek towards the end of the week. If I quickly take a look at the DXY, I am pretty bullish on this one longer term. You've had that insane move last week, and I'm pretty much looking for a pullback anywhere within here for some more upside. That's very much the plan I have for USD longs and pound shorts and euro shorts, and that's very much the play I'm mainly looking at this week. But I'm looking to see if I can look for some short-term weakness on the dollar to trade it back towards that area for some buys later on. So I'm seeing if I can catch maybe some shorts the first phase of the week, if you will, and then some longs maybe midweek towards the end of the week to take it back to highs, so on and so forth. So that's very much the plan I have with the dollar right now. And looking at this on an intraday perspective, 15-minute, 30-minute, it's kind of where my attention is. I like what I'm seeing. Price looks like it's pulled back into this area just about, and it has just gone and swept the highs here. And I'm liking the momentum here. I'm thinking about entering some shorts, well, not some shorts on the dollar, some longs on euro from a similar setup, taking out these lows here as well. And I probably look to be entering on this candle. Some longs on euro here. A little bit aggressive. It is going against that momentum, but I like where we're positioned and what the dollar's doing. I do think we can pull back a little bit deeper, especially with that momentum we had on Friday. Really aggressive push. I'm looking at this more of a complex pullback for some buys. So I like what I'm seeing there for euro, but I'm also liking dollar yen shorts as well. And I'm torn between the two. Do I look to buy euro? Do I look to sell dollar yen? Effectively the same trade. Effectively the setup's the same as well. You know, both pull back into nice areas of supply or demand for euro's case. Both giving me some really nice entry signals. Both taking advantage of weakness in the dollar. And both semi-aggressive in terms of the nature of the context of the market. Dollar yen's been very bullish. On this move to the upside, we're going against that trend. Euro USD's been very bearish on the way down. Now, I'm not going to take both of them, and it's going to be a situation where one of them works, one of them doesn't. And I am leaning towards dollar yen, and we got about 10 seconds for an entry, and if it does enter, if it does close like that, I will take the trade. Again, both pretty much the same entry, but I will go with dollar yen. A little bit late to take the position because it's just closed, but I will go with dollar yen. I like the momentum we had. I'm looking for the continuation of that. I will widen my stops though. Let me see how many pips. About 32.4. Okay, not bad for risk reward as well. Okay, let me just quickly pound. Stop loss 32.4. Okay, one moment please. Just calculating my lot size with the stop loss. Okay, we are in. How did Euro close? Because I was debating between the two. They both look as good as each other. Don't take them both, but that would have been the Euro trade. Slight added benefit with dollar yen. Risk was slightly better back to the low. Euro back to the high is about 1 to 2. Roughly. Dollar yen back to the low, as in this low, is 1 to 3.4, so slightly better risk reward. So yeah, I'll focus on dollar yen. I like the momentum we had. We'll see how that goes. If price does spike a little bit higher, I will look for re-entries as long as we maintain this area here. And then yeah, looking for a similar drop back into that low. But yeah, debated between Euro and dollar yen. Both look equally as good. Both playing off the same idea with USD weakness. Again, I'm still very much bullish on the dollar. So this is definitely a short-term move with the hopes of looking to buy dollar later in the week. But it doesn't look like it's quite ready to be bought yet. So I'm going to look for some intraday short positions for some buys in hopefully a couple of days. But yeah, what's up people? Haven't said hello to anyone. Well, I said hello to Moneybags, but I've been glued to the charts. CS Integrated, what's up my man? How we said, you have same idea, long on the DXY for 1 week max and long Euro, long pound. We'll monitor first. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I've got the same idea as well. I'm looking basically for the dollar to have that breather, to have that push down. So if we go to the 4-hour chart, I am looking at something like this week, but as soon as we start approaching these areas, 98.5, 98, then I'm going to start turning bullish again, or at least start looking for bullish opportunities to see if I can catch another higher low, because we have been pretty consistent with that for the dollar. We've got low, high, low, high, low, high. So the plan is new low, new high sort of situation. But as we approach, selling areas like this, big areas of supply, with in fact the trend's already bearish, I'm looking for some intraday short opportunities to hopefully maybe buy it back later. But of course, we'll judge that closer to time when price is actually trading in this area. I still think maybe the buys are the bigger move. I'm still very much in that thought process. So I'm very much keen on the longs here, but it's just not ready yet. And if I can find an opportunity to short it to that area, as long as it fits the plan well, which dollar, yen, and euro did, I'm going to see if I can take advantage of that. So yeah, that's very much the game plan so far. Money bags, yep, we'll take a look at pound CAD for you. Haven't really been so tuned in with pound CAD recently. Not a pair which I've looked into. Actually, no, I was looking at it. Was it last week or the week before for some buys, but it didn't quite set up. And I think I was shorting Euro Aussie at the time as well. But yeah, we'll take a look at pound CAD. LFTJ, what's up, my man? Hope you are doing good. Welcome. Holy One, welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good as well. Gone to sell on Euro. Ooh, interesting. I'm looking at buys on Euro. Underneath H4 resistance, lovely sell, so close them to go currently in USD CAD buy to the next high as well. Okay, so you're looking at very much USD strength in the market, which is very much the current theme. Of course, we have seen a lot of strength, and that is the direction I do think Euro is likely to end up eventually. But I'm looking to see if I can look for some short-term buys. I mean, I didn't enter Euro buys, but it did look good to me intraday. So I'm actually looking at some short-term upside for that longer-term move on Euro. Okay, so let me go through pound CAD for money bags quickly, and then I'll go through the USD as a whole. So we'll go through the DXY properly, USD majors, gold, silver, and quickly kind of summarize USD, and then we'll go through yen as well, because dollar and yen are my focus this week, especially after the moves we had on Friday. Very aggressive moves for both USD and yen, and some interesting opportunities have set up. So I am very, very excited to go through that. But pound CAD, yeah, pound CAD, I would still say I would want to be a buyer of pound CAD. The market's still pointing up. Yes, we're looking very, very corrective, showing signs of fatigue, but I would still look to bet in the bullish direction, especially after we've had a bit of a dip as well, and we haven't really broken any major structure yet as well. So I would still bet on the continuation. After a while, I do think we'll probably have a big reversal, but let's not go too detailed into that just yet, because I do think, at least for the next few days, the buys is what makes the most sense, unless we suddenly go and break structure. So I do like the buys. Really aggressive push down Friday as well, kind of breaking through some lower time frame structure to our left. So as you can see, price is taking out this area. I'm looking at more upside there for pound CAD. In terms of a trade idea, a slightly more aggressive one could be looking to try and bet on price holding these lows for continuation. I say it's a bit aggressive just because we are quite choppy here, and it's not like you're buying at extreme. You know, this is what I would say is more of a ranging market. Ideally, the best buys and the best sells will be up high and down low. Anything in here is just a little bit intricate, but it still looks like a good trade to me. Basically, you're playing that break of structure and betting on a continuation. What I would do is I'll probably drop like a 15-minute chart to trade this, just to really refine that entry, so I don't have to look for a big move to walk away for a decent winner. Let's say if we can bet on a push back to resistance there, which looks fairly likely to me. Let's say if the market could run the lows, look for a strong entry signal in this area and trade it back to highs. I think that's a decent trade. Could probably walk away for 1 to 2, maybe even more than that if you can really refine the entry. Of course, there's a bit more upside. I do expect us to eventually hit back to highs again, so you can always look to try and push the trade further if you want to. But at least for that intraday opportunity, it makes sense to me. It's just because we are quite choppy, where we could see price push up and start to do this, so it can get quite chaotic there. But at least intraday, I would look for a bit of a push up, and my swing bias would be another wave back to resistance. So yeah, that's kind of where I am at with pound CAD. We'll go through the USD side of things now. Yeah, Raphael, we'll take a look at pound USD. I was looking at pound USD longs. I didn't like it as much as euro, but then I didn't like it as much as dollar yen. But we'll take a look at pound. What's up, Sage Trader? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. CS, my man. Yeah, true. Fundamentally, that could play a big role in USD probably for the next, at least the next couple of weeks, I reckon. Khan, dollar CHF. Yes, we'll take a look at that one. Looks better for sales. Yeah, I would agree as well, but depends where you're trading, because it's a bit of a sticky situation with dollar CHF, but I will go into a bit more detail with that in a moment. LFTJ also short, also on UG short, was thinking, is there a chance for 2 gaps to be filled or not necessarily? You're talking about the gaps from the week prior. Well, that would be a very big move if we're going to fill that gap. Let me just go through the dollar pairs and we can work our way through them, because the yen pairs, I mean, some yen pairs have actually filled gaps, some haven't yet, but it would be a pretty big move for us to go and fill some gaps. Anywho, let's start with the dollar and then we'll go through some USD majors. So DXY, as I said, coming to the week, if you haven't checked out the weekly analysis, feel free to go do so. Last or recent upload on the channel, but to summarize that, I am looking at buys this week for the dollar in this box, in this zone. Pretty much just a copy and paste of the analysis from a couple of weeks ago, where I said I'm looking at buys in this zone here. So you got the push, the pullback, the next push, Now you're looking at the next pullback. This is the zone for the buys, continuation. Literally the exact same pattern, push into this area, then looking for the continuation. So just a repeat of that structure really. I'm liking momentum. We've seen very strong moves in each one of these bullish legs. So that's why I'm still betting on a continuation to the upside. But since we are trading back in areas of supply, resistance, where we're forming these major lower highs, I'm looking at some short-term opportunities to take dollar lower before maybe those buys come into play, perhaps midweek or maybe later stages of this week potentially, because I'm not prepared to buy the dollar here, but I would be prepared to buy it down there or anywhere in that region really. So the plan very much is looking for some dollar weakness to start us off, and then some strength hopefully towards the later stages. And if I drop intraday, I quite like what we're seeing here. So we have had a very aggressive move, which was on Friday as well. And I like how we've pulled back into this zone. So I'm looking to see if price can basically respect this area, form some type of double top or lower high pattern, and then we can look for a continuation back into these lows, and of course look for those bigger pullbacks, probably in a higher time frame. I wouldn't look to trade that intraday, probably, I mean, technically 4 hours still intraday time frame, but I'll look for more of a swing opportunity there. So that is the plan I have with the dollar in the immediate term and slightly longer term view as well. Euro, I'm looking at the exact same situation there too, which is a short-term pullback for some more selling opportunities. I'm looking at this area here. Basically, I know it's a pretty big zone, but basically I'm looking for a pullback anywhere in there for some more shorts. We've been pretty bearish. I do think Euro's got more downside to give, but as we come back into these areas, I'm expecting a bit of a bounce first to start the week off, and hopefully some sells at the later stages. Euro could possibly be making a move back to these lows as well. I could see that happening, especially with us kind of really failing to, I mean, we did technically create new highs, but we have really struggled there. So I'm looking to see if we can get a bit more downside here, a bit more downside longer term. But again, I'm not quite ready to be shorting euro dollar just yet. I'm looking at some buys, hopefully anywhere between 1.165, 1.17. That's kind of the area which I like the most. And then we can hopefully look for some swings back down again as the week progresses. I was debating some entries on a intraday chart, 50-minute chart here this morning, but I decided to go with dollar yen. Equally, both look just as good as each other. I could have took euro, could have took dollar yen. I'm basically playing off the same bias, which is USD weakness. Again, more slightly aggressive trades because I am going against all of that momentum from the past couple of weeks or 3 weeks even. So it is counter, it is against the trend. But basically I'm saying I'm expecting a bit more upside, a bit more strength from what we had on the back end of Friday. I'm looking for us to try and continue that, at least back to highs, maybe back to that same zone at 1.165, 1.17-ish. So I was debating that entry there, but I decided to go with dollar yen instead. Pound USD, also pretty much the same outlook as well. I'm really liking the sells for pound USD later on, but I'm just not quite interested in the shorts yet. I'm still looking for pound to come back into this low here. I do think price can go attack the lows and probably break through them as well. We tried to continue the trend back over there. That essentially failed. We tried to rip back to highs there. Didn't quite happen. And since then, the market's been looking pretty bearish. And now I'm just expecting the continuation of that and a likely push back into the low here, especially with that momentum on Thursday. So there could be some short-term buys for pound to take it to the upside. And as we come back into this zone here, we might see price respect support, push back up again. Well, I said to myself coming into the week that I'm probably looking at shorts maybe around here. I mean, this is a nice supply zone as well, but the pullback was a bit too aggressive. So I'm more looking at some sells around 1.34, 1.342. And then hopefully I can find some entries later this week to take it back down. And I'm basically just betting on another lower high forming for the continuation. So again, similar to Euro, looking for some short-term buys for some sells later on. And I wasn't really liking the setup on pound USD as much as I was on Euro, but very, very similar pattern. You can see basically we're going to sweep the lows there and looking at this holding for a continuation back to highs. If we quickly flick over to Euro, basically the same pattern as well. We flick through the lows here, recovered, looking at continuation back to highs, especially off a nice demand zone there on the left too. So exact same pattern, but I just like the setup of euro slightly more, but I would expect them both to do the same thing. We'll go through dollar yen. Now we'll take a look at Aussie and New Zealand dollar and gold and silver. So this is the short trade I did take. Again, I was debating between euro and this one. I just went with dollar yen purely because risk reward was a little bit better to the low, and I liked it because I do think dollar yen's quite overextended on the higher time frames. We've had a really sharp push on the daily chart. As I can't remember who mentioned, but someone mentioned we've got a gap here, price could go fill. That's not really my target. It would be nice to see us fill that gap, but that's not really my target for dollar yen. And also I like where we're positioned in the higher time frames. I like the big wick we left last week, and if you do look at the higher time frames, we are trading at a pretty significant price here on the weekly time frame. Massive rejection, and we're back there again. And we do have a bit of this trend line confluence here. Now, I'm not really looking to try and trade this on a 15-minute chart. I'm not looking to trade a weekly reverse on the 15. I'm just using this as confidence to support the short trade I have on the 15. Very much the idea has stemmed from the 50-minute chart. It's just nice to know that I'm positioned well on the weekly chart too. But this is just a confluence. And this is something I am interested in. I am looking for that big dive on dollar yen. But this is something that I'll probably look to trade in like a 4-hour chart, and I'll wait for a lot more rejection, a lot more development before I well and truly trade this. The 50-minute idea is just more so of a pullback because the market's quite overextended. We pull back into a nice supply zone, took out the highs very well. Now I'm looking to see if we can short it back into the low this week. That's very much the plan. So yeah, I'll see how that goes. Let me just make that a small window so I can keep an eye on that trade actually. Okay, so what next? We'll take a look at Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, let's start fresh. Aussie dollar. So I'm looking to see if we can get a push into this low this week. That's very much the plan I have with Aussie dollar. Push back to 0.64188. I do like the way we ended last week. Of course, it was very bearish. Aussie at the time was exceptionally weak, and we saw this huge candle there on Friday. So the plan coming into this week was basically just looking for a pullback of that candle and expecting more downside. And I did say on the weekly analysis, either looking for the breakaway test of this low here, which looks like we're sort of getting, or if we have a slightly bigger pullback, I like this area here too. 0.656 roughly, 655. So any of these two areas, I'm quite interested in the shorts now because I'm already in a dollar trade. I'm not so keen to get into another one until I can get this risk-free. But the idea is that I'm still looking for, again, some short-term weakness on the dollar for that pullback, for some longer-term strength. Of course, we'll see what Aussie does as well because that will have a big part to play. But again, in terms of the shorts, I don't think we are quite ready to short dollar Aussie dollar yet. We've had a pretty aggressive push up here. I know price is rejecting that low, but it's not doing it in any significance. It's not really showing. Yes, there's a few wicks there, but there's no overwhelming rejection. I don't like how price has retraced. It's quite aggressive. And I'm not really seeing much momentum for the bears either. So I'm not quite in love with the shorts just yet. And I do have an expectation that price probably will break above this area and come back and test this zone here. And especially with my current bias of USD weakness, I do think that could take Aussie dollar a little bit further to the upside before maybe the shorts come in. So again, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there could actually be some really nice shorts in Aussie dollar, take it back into the low, and then so on and so forth back into the daily target. So I quite like the shorts. I just don't think it's quite ready yet. So yeah, I'm looking at a bit more upside and then some shorts later on. New Zealand dollar I don't really like, to be honest. Now I do have a pretty bearish bias overall. I mean, the market has been falling quite well for the past few weeks, just lower high after lower high. So I like what I'm seeing. I just don't have I don't have a clear opportunity to short it, and I don't like how prices trade. Well, it's not like I don't like how prices trade. It's just that with the way we're trading, I need big pullbacks to take trades. I'm not very keen on taking shorts at lows here, because every time the market does take out a low, we have a pretty big pullback, takes out a low, pretty big pullback, takes out a low, pretty big pullback. So the fact that price is taking out another low here, again, I'm expecting another pullback. So it's just not optimal to be shorting at these prices, knowing that every time price sweeps a key low, it does have a pretty meaningful pullback. And I would expect something similar to happen again. Maybe if we push more so to this area, 0.582, then the sells will make a bit more sense. We're back in supply, back in bearish territory. Then we can plot a lower high there and look for some shorts. But at the moment, I would not say we're quite ready yet. So being very patient on New Zealand dollar. As for gold, yeah, gold's just running to the upside, looking very, very bullish. As we can see, just, yeah, new all-time highs again this morning. It has not been, it has been relentless, to be honest, with this almost at 4,100 as well. We smashed through 4K and almost hitting 4,100. Yeah, insane stuff with gold, insane stuff with gold. So yeah, with us creating new highs like that, I would still say the plan, at least for now, is still looking at longs. Although I'm not the biggest fan, I'm dropping to the 15, and we are looking a little bit flat. Momentum is looking a little bit dry. So I would suggest, if we can get a deeper, more complex pullback, that could be a better opportunity for a buy. Because ever since we had this move here, which pretty much happened as Sunday open, we've been very, very corrective on the way up. So yes, price is still bullish, but momentum is dying. So I would like a bigger pullback, even perhaps into this area, which kind of gave us that move. I wouldn't mind that at all, and that could be the next wave. But yeah, after new highs being created, gold's still showing that momentum. Yes, a little bit fatigued at the moment, but that might just mean a slightly deeper correction. And I do think the buys are the best bet. Until we start breaking structure, I'd focus on buys now for gold. And for silver, if you have a quick look at silver. Now silver, yeah, silver's just ripping it as well. Now for silver, again, it's looking more corrective now. We can clearly see by the nature of how price is moving, it's more corrective. So I think with pullbacks, that is still very much the main play, but I would keep it not short term, but I would take profit at highs. Normally in a market like this, you kind of just want to let the trade run and trail stops and see how far you can take it, because you don't know, maybe there's another big move coming in. There could be. But as you can see with the consistency here, if I just zoom out, this is the 15-minute chart. Every time the market sweeps highs, it has a pretty big pullback afterwards. So I'm expecting something similar to happen as we kept that going. You know, if this pattern is going to continue, we're probably going to see another push down, probably another higher low, and then probably another push back to the highs. And then you're going to be in a situation where, okay, if you are long here, you probably want to secure some profit just in case we don't do something like that. I mean, there could be another trade to take it back up again, but equally, the profits you made here probably disappear. Maybe price does go through an explosion and see some new highs, so you can trail stops on some remaining positions. But just looking in the theme of the market, how we're moving, I would be quite skeptical as we do get to highs. And I think people are going to be a bit skeptical now of silver, which create new all-time highs. Is there pullback on the way? Probably, but for now, especially if you're intraday, intra-week, buys are still the best bet until we do see that kind of momentum shift in the break of structure. But yeah, silver's still looking very, very bullish. So that's kind of where I'm at with USD for now. Still overall looking for dollar strength, but maybe a bit of weakness to start the week off. Let's go through some messages. I'll go through dollar CHF as well. Can't mention that one. So brokers don't have gaps which to trust. I mean, the thing is, you could have two trusting brokers who could give you slightly different price action, because again, the brokers will have control of the feed of what they show their clients, what they show their traders. So no broker is going to have identical candlesticks and everything's going to look the exact same. It's going to look different from broker to broker. Of course, you want to do your research behind every broker you choose. But you know, I could flick through different brokers here: Oanda, FXCM, IC Markets, Pepperstone. I can flick through all these brokers here, which are all very reputable and big brokers, and the price action will look slightly different, especially a bit more intraday as well. So it will differ from broker to broker. It's not necessarily that they're not trusting; it's just price action is going to be different. What is up, Menon Shah? Hope I'm saying that correctly. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Khan, EuroCAD. Okay, we can take a look at that one too. You're looking for a buy. Interesting. LFTJ, UJ opened with gap today. Oh, okay. Okay, so you're talking about the gap we had. I mean, a lot of the MPEs did that. So you're talking about the gap for this week and for last week, or just this week? Also, pound EUR/USD this week. Holy One did have 3 steps of the weekend, but okay. Yeah, might as well. I mean, if you've got a spare time, might as well, Holy One. I don't see why to hold back, to be honest. Of course, you can dip your toes in, don't have to go full straight away, but if you've got some spare time and you've got the opportunity, I don't see why not. Emmanuel, analysis on GJ. Yeah, we'll go through the yen pairs next. There's a few requests I do want to go through. EuroCAD. We'll take a look at pound Aussie as well. If I have missed a dollar CHF, if I have missed another request, let me know. But we'll go through those pairs first. I'm just going to go through all the yen pairs because they have all looked interesting. There's also debating a CAD yen short as well. So it was actually 3 pairs I was looking at this morning: Euro longs, dollar yen shorts, and CAD yen shorts. But I whittle it down to just dollar yen. And that's the thing, when you do look at a lot of markets, you can get quite a lot of opportunities. So it's very important. You're very selective and you kind of take it trade by trade and focus on quality over quantity. Otherwise, you definitely sell yourself short. Anywho, let's go through dollar CHF, pound Aussie, and Euro CAD. And then we're just going to go through all the yen pairs together. So in terms of dollar CHF, so it's very interesting. I was looking at some buys either last week or the week before around here. Never quite got the trade, unfortunately. Price spiked lower here and then ripped. So didn't quite get the opportunity I was looking for, but hey, the market's been super bullish since then. Then we had a really aggressive push down on Friday. You know, all the USD pairs did, with a bit of weakness coming in. So what's the plan? Well, the plan is still looking at buys in this area, in this territory. You know, this is still bullish territory, and as long as price retraces well, corrects well, provides opportunities, I'm very happy to look for longs here for dollar CHF to take it back up again. I'm not happy to look for longs here, absolutely not, especially after such an aggressive retracement. This is not where I want to do my business, but if price does get back here nice and correctively, you know, I'm happy to look for longs. That's more of a setup, probably the latter stages of this week. In terms of the more immediate opportunities, such as shorts, I do like what I'm seeing. It would be nice if price could tap into like this area here, because that's where all the momentum came from on Friday. You see a really aggressive momentum there. So it would be nice. I like the setup, to be honest, the way we kind of spiked through the high there. That's always a nice short opportunity. It would have been nice if this wick was a bit bigger to tap into that and then pull down. That would be a very nice opportunity. But essentially, I'm looking at a push down for dollar CHF before push up. And it's a very similar kind of expectation with the DXY, with dollar CHF. Of course, they're both going to be very correlated markets, of course, with USD. But that is very much the take I have, especially with the aggressive move we had on Friday. So yeah, I am looking for some weakness there to start things off and then followed by some strength. This is definitely not an area which I would want to buy from. This is where I want to focus my buys, and it would be nice if we can tap into that supply zone for some shorts. So yeah, that would be my take there for dollar CHF. In terms of pound Aussie, so pound Aussie, yeah, interesting one. I do like what I'm seeing with pound Aussie. I do like what I'm seeing because I did discuss this on the weekend. It's not my favorite opportunity. Like I said, the USD and the yen pairs are kind of where my focus is this week. But I'm also considering pound Aussie. And the plan basically with pound Aussie is that, okay, prices ripped through this low here. However, it was very, very corrective. And now that we've had this strength come back into the market, I'm basically looking at this as a slight fake out of the low. Now we've got this impulse. I'm looking for a correction and a continuation back into the range, back into this kind of weird descending channel, back into this area. That's what I'm betting on now for pound Aussie. So now that we're back above this low, this will of course turn support. Can even drag that across. And I do think this is a smart place for a buy. And basically what you're saying is, okay, we've had this really impulsive move. We've broken through structure. Now I'm betting a price, retesting this, finding support, and basically just continuing that momentum from last Friday. And I do think that's a fair judgment of price. We've got that gap which we could see price have an incentive to go and fill as well. And there's a lot of upside opportunity too, because you're not only just betting for a push back to resistance here, you're also betting for a push back to the high all the way up there as well. So you don't necessarily have to, but that's where I do expect price to eventually end up, as long as we stay above this area here. So I'm pretty bullish on pound Aussie, and I like what I am seeing. And if you go take a look at Euro CAD as well, yeah, Euro CAD's an interesting one. I'm not so keen to trade Euro CAD because I think it's a bit too early to be looking for shorts. So I'm not quite ready on the short buy side of things just yet. And I would only focus on longs, but I'm not so optimistic with following longs here. It's an extremely corrective market, and it's a market that looks like it's tiring by every candle. So I do think pretty soon something like that's going to happen. But of course, if you're looking at opportunities intraday, I would say buys make sense. We're respecting structure to our left there. Very, very, very powerful bullish move yesterday. And what you could be looking for is a bit of a correction here and a continuation back to highs. Now, I think pound CAD looks a little bit better just in terms of the structure and how everything is mapped out. If we quickly flick over to pound CAD, you'll see what I'm talking about. It just looks a little bit cleaner how we're positioned, especially push that low there. I think it's a much better opportunity. But nonetheless, very similar pairs that probably do the exact same thing. So I do think we can see a push higher as well for pound CAD and Euro CAD. But I probably wouldn't try and bet much higher than resistance there. And for Euro CAD, I wouldn't try and bet much higher than resistance there. Of course, we could go a lot further. The trend is up. We could continue back to highs potentially. But it's just because things are super corrective now, I wouldn't be so optimistic to keep pushing that back to highs, knowing how tired we're looking. So that would be my plan there for Euro CAD, but definitely not my favorite pair. Just very, very corrective as a whole. So before we do take a look at the yen pairs, I just want to quickly go over our Perps platform. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you go do so. This is the platform interface. Again, if you are looking to trade cryptocurrency, a great place to do that, where everything is decentralized, so you can connect your Solana or Ethereum wallet directly to the platform and trade instantly, whether live or demo. You can trade in both conditions, so if you want to test out the platform for a while, you can do that as well. But in terms of withdrawals, in terms of taking your money out, very, very quick, swift. You can do that pretty much instantly. There's no kind of requesting to withdraw. Pretty much as soon as you close your trade, you can withdraw straight away. One of the features I really like about the platform, which we're working hard with, is the AI assistance, which will give you setups on the 4-hour chart, support and resistance levels, sentiment analysis, and we're working to try and build that into the chart itself so you can see it a bit more visually. But if you haven't checked out the platform yet, there is linked at the top of the chat. I do have a video breaking down how to use it, especially with the AI as well, and how to get started. So go check that out if you haven't done so already. But we do have a competition we're running on the platform. Again, just a bit of fun, trading competition between traders. No live demo environment, so you don't have to worry about any of that. It's just a bit of fun to get people trading using the platform. So I will leave a link in the chat to that as well. But if you haven't checked out the platform yet, guys, make sure you go do so and check out the competition as well if you're interested in participating. I will go through the yen pairs now. And yeah, we'll go through the yen pairs now. Yeah, we'll take a look at GJ, Aussie yen as well. Yeah, we'll take a look at that too, no problem. Of course, any other requests, drop it in the chat. If you have any trades or anything you want to share, let us know as well. But yeah, we'll go through the yen pairs now. Okay, so we'll start with GJ. Not my favorite yen pair at the moment, I must say. Not my favorite yen pair. I mean, my favorite yen pair is probably dollar yen since I'm actually trading that one. But yeah, pound yen's the interesting one because of course we've had a very, very aggressive run to the upside last week. We had the gap, then we had this drive. However, the way we retraced is not healthy at all. I said pretty much for the whole week, I'm looking at buys for GJ, buys for GJ, buys for GJ. I'm expecting us to head back to the highs here. That's very much the plan because the trend is just roaring at that point. The likelihood is that we do continue higher. However, the way we retraced Thursday, Friday was way too aggressive for my liking. Doesn't mean price still can't go higher. Of course, it backs, so the up move, correction, another up move, tapping into key areas. I like this style of a pullback. That's where I do most of my trading. Pullbacks which are quite steep and have just one big decline. I rarely look to trade these because from my experience, it's a lot more difficult to try and pick the lows and pick the continuation. Price could always push a little bit further before moving up. I like it when price creates support, comes back to respects it, and then makes the move. A lot more easier to trade, at least from my experience anyway. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the pullback. It's quite aggressive, not as slow as I would like, and it's a bit steep. And also looking at what's happened with the yen itself, we'll go take a look at the yen basket shortly, but it does look like the yen is trading at a very critical region, which we could reverse from. And if that does reverse, that means a lot more yen strength coming into the market, which means pound yen is likely to keep falling. In terms of the intraday setup, if I drop to the 15-minute chart, yeah, I'm not seeing anything in the 15 to be honest. I'm not seeing good buys or good sells. If I'm looking for buys here, I want momentum to pick up. And I can look for something like this on a pullback. Shorts, I need momentum to pick up as well. And then I can look for something like this on a pullback as well. This just looks really corrective. Now it looks like price kind of finding support here a little bit. So altogether, I'm not really seeing anything intraday for GJ at all, to be honest. And in terms of the longer term swing opportunity, I'm going to see what we can do on a retest of this level here. Because this is essentially the resistance we broke through last week. So we have resistance here, we smashed straight through that on Monday, and now it looks like price potentially could be coming back to retest that area. Now we can see how price operates. Do we start to find support? Does price break straight through? Those are the questions I'll be asking myself when we do get there, and that will help set up my bias for the remainder of the week, whether I'm looking for a bounce or whether I'm looking for price to continue and really sell off here. Maybe this is just a big fake out altogether. And if you have a quick look at the yen basket, you can see what I'm referring to. If you go to the weekly chart here, it's a very, very significant low over here. It gave us this massive move for the past few months. Price has made a big move into that level. We had a really big spike last week as well. Is this potentially price respecting this level to bounce, or are we potentially going to have a breakout? Yeah, I'd probably say it's still 50-50 at this point in time, but judging from the previous candle, we can definitely see that support is coming into the market at this price. Let's see if it does hold. But that's why I said yen's at a critical point right now, because if we do hold this, we could be seeing a very steep reversal, and that means the yen pairs are coming right down. If we do break through, then of course our next big target will be this low, and that will make me very, very bearish on the yen, and pretty much all the yen pairs I'll be looking to actively buy. But until I kind of get that confirmation with the break or the reversal, I'm still a little bit undecided long term and just paying close attention to how the yen is reacting with this area. At the moment, not really much to decipher, even if I go to the lower time frames as well. I mean, I do think a bit more retracement to the upside, but it doesn't mean I'm expecting price to completely reverse. So I'm waiting for a bit more information there. If I go take a look at Aussie yen as well. Aussie yen, I was keeping an eye coming into the week as well. I do like the shorts, but the retracement just a bit big. You know, compared to dollar yen, compared to CAD yen, which we can take a look at in a second. We had this gap from this low here to there, and then price kept pushing, and I think it's just a little bit too aggressive for my liking. I mean, I'm still looking at this bullish move as a retracement of that bearish move, so I still do think price will eventually do something like that. But at the same time, do I want to bank on that as a short opportunity? No, not really, especially if I'm thinking of quality over quantity. Can I find a better trade elsewhere? Yeah. You know, the one I'm in at the moment, at least I deem that as a better setup. Of course, if it plays out or not, that's a different story. But yeah, I can spot better opportunities. So I'm not as focused as Aussie yen as I was coming to the week, especially with such an aggressive gap we had there, you know, this morning or yesterday evening. But I do think we could see a bit more downside. I do think price will eventually form a lower high and push down. But judging how we're retracing, you know, we could still see a bit more upside here before price does tire and does roll over. So I'm not really seeing much of an opportunity to short Aussie yen right now. And I'm not seeing much of an opportunity to buy Aussie yen. Maybe if we drop right to the 15, maybe something like this could be a nice buy. Perhaps. But again, you're keeping it short term because I would expect this move to be a retracement. It's not like I'm expecting reversal. So if I do get into a buy here, it's very much with the thinking, okay, I'm probably just going to trade it back here. Maybe a little bit higher, but that's about it. So I wouldn't be getting too kind of caught up in the buys there for Aussie yen. But yeah, not the best price action at the moment. In terms of CAD yen, like I said, I was actually debating entering some shorts this morning, but I chose dollar yen instead. Again, very similar setups, but if I drop to the 15, you can see this was the setup we talked about last week. Was this last Friday? Yeah, last Friday, which played out pretty well there. I was shorting gold at the time, which didn't prove to be the best trade, especially with CAD yen playing out very well. I'm basically looking at the repeat of that pattern as well. You know, sweep the highs there, push back into supply zone, really aggressive drop. I'm basically looking at price doing the exact same thing here as well, sweeping the highs there too, tapping into this area, and now I'm looking at another drop back into these lows. So that's very much the plan I have with CAD yen too, but I decided to take dollar yen, looked just a little bit better at the time, and I'm also betting on that USD weakness too, so I quite like what I'm seeing here with dollar yen a little bit more. I think the entry was a little bit better too. But looking at a similar move back down, back into these lows, and the reason why I like CAD yen too, again, is where we're positioned. We're coming off a very super corrective up move, so it's not like I'm extremely bullish on CAD yen, looking to continue this trend. No, not really. It's a very corrective move. I don't mind going counter trend in this situation. And also, if I flick to the weekly chart, you can see we've had a lovely piercing wick about that high, which again showing failure from the bulls. We've tried to puncture the highs here, tried to continue, but failed pretty much. And I'm expecting us to have more of a reaction this week too. So CAD yen, I think shorts look good. So if you're intraday, I think that's a great opportunity to look into. As I said, I'm not really interested to trade CAD yen and dollar yen, basically the same move. But I did quite like what I'm seeing with CAD yen this morning as well. So I do expect a bit more downside there too. Yeah, sure thing. We'll take a look. CS integrated. We'll go through the DXY as well. Just take a look at a couple more of the yen pairs first. Lebsy, what's up, my man? Hope you're well. CAD Chef. Okay, we can take a look at that. Took a look this morning. Okay, cool. Stops. Okay, we can go through that. I haven't looked at CAD Chef in a lot of detail in a while. Did have a scan on the weekend, didn't really see much, so I moved on. But yeah, we can definitely go through CAD Chef for you, no problem. Almost healed. What's up, my man? Hope you're well. Yeah, I did hear about that. I mean, it wasn't just crypto. Pretty much all markets felt the move. To be honest, even FX was moving crazy. Indices moved crazy too. But of course, yeah, BTC absolute crash. XRP fell off aggressively as well. So yeah, it was a crazy Friday. I'm not gonna lie, crazy Friday. But yeah, it's interesting though. Interesting because with all the fear around, you probably think is it a good time to actually stick a buy on. I think from an investing point of view, yeah. If you're not too concerned about the downside, trading point of view, we can go in a bit more detail for that. But yeah, very dramatic event on Friday. What's up, Livia? Good morning. Hope you're doing good. Welcome to the stream. Oh, BTC. Okay, yeah, no worries. Yeah, we can take a look at BTC as well. I'm just going to go through a couple more yen pairs. So I'll go through. I did CAD. I mean, I've done dollar yen, haven't I? I mean, it's the trade I'm in. I'll quickly go through that quickly, and I'll do euro yen as well. But essentially with dollar yen, I like where we're trading with this one. Now, it's not very much a top-down analysis with the dollar yen shorts. It's more so intraday, looking for a bit of a pullback, a bit of a counter trend move. But I really like the setup because of where we're positioned in the higher time frames. We've got a significant level here in the weekly chart, which price looks like it's struggling to break through, especially with the closure of last week's candle, piercing way to the upside. We pull back, and as you can see, left a pretty meaningful wick there to the upside. So it looks to me that from a weekly standpoint, we're struggling to break this high, or at least last week's candle did. We've also got this confluence here of the trend line connecting these past lower highs. 1, 2, possibly are we forming a third one? You know, is price going to do something like that? It well could. And we're positioned well for that to happen too. So I like where I'm trading on the weekly charts. A bit of a crossroad right now. Could see some high time frame sellers stepping in, buyers backing away, and perhaps we could see a bit of downside from that perspective. Now, as I drop to the lower chart, I am banking on a pullback of this bullish move. It's been very aggressive, very stretched. I do think the market is naturally going to have a bit of a move down, especially with an aggressive close like we had there on Friday. So I'm looking at price sweeping the high and pulling back pretty much as like what we did over here. Major high, we swept it, came back down. Another major high, swept it there as well. What am I looking for? Price to come back down. So we've got that higher time frame confluence in this area too. And just looking at how price is moving, it kind of makes sense there as well. So I like where I'm positioned. Now in terms of the setup itself, that's where the entry, the stop loss, and all of that comes into play. In terms of the entry itself, so I'm basically looking at the continuation of this momentum here from last Friday. It even continued there, but then we had a bit of an aggressive gap, which took us back here. I like how price retraced. It's so far quite corrective here. And as price swept the highs here, this is basically where I'm finding my entry as we're coming back into this supply zone, and I'm looking for the shorts back into the prior low. So I'm positioned well on the weekly chart, but also from a 15-minute perspective, looks like we've kind of reversed this bullish move, gone into a period of consolidation, now seeing convincing bearish momentum, and all I'm looking to do is try and catch that first, second pullback and a continuation lower. So that is very much the plan there with dollar yen. It is slightly aggressive because I'm going against the current kind of trend here, which is up, but because of where I'm positioned, I do think it's a safe or a respective area to actually take the short, and we'll see how it goes from there. So that's the trade I'm in at the moment, and very much similar analysis to CAD Gen 2. And then lastly, if we take a look at euro yen, then we'll go through some other requests. BTC, CAD CHF. Now euro yen's an interesting one because this is coming from major highs, which we haven't been trading for quite a while. Just so I can keep an eye on the trade. So yeah, we're coming from highs we haven't traded in a while. So you can see here, major highs over there. This goes back to July 2024, before we had that massive crash on the yen, or strength on the yen, I should say. Yeah, price is taking up the highs there. Now, do we expect to see a bit of a pullback from here? I do. Is the market still bullish? Yes, very much still bullish. This is still our last major low, which gave us this high. So technically speaking, we could see price pull back anywhere within here. And for the most part, from a swing perspective, we're still looking to try and find some buys. I would say if the market does break through this, then we might look for some more meaningful sells. But even then, it could just be a bigger pullback before we do step into some buys. But of course, we can discuss that later in time. But for now, I'm expecting a bit of retracement, a bit of a move down. The market's quite overextended. We've taken up major highs. I do think we can see Euro Yen push down at least a little bit more this week. At least probably back to this low here. Not asking for much, pretty reasonable move. If I drop to like a 50-minute chart, I sort of like what I'm seeing, but it's just really, really corrective, which is why I didn't really spend too much time on this one, which is why I'm trading dollar yen. Looks a little bit cleaner to me. But Euro yen, I like how we're moving. Again, very corrective pullback. That's how I like my pullbacks to look like. We've gone and swept the highs here, put this high in there. It looks to me that price potentially might now be ready for that sell-off. And this is going to be our next lower high. So ideally with entries, you kind of really want to be in the position around there. Entering here is a little bit late to the party, but you can still put your stops above the high, still target the low there. Risk reward, you're probably looking at maybe a 1.5R sort of situation, which is not the end of the world. Anything above a 1-to-1 is, I would deem, good. You're making more than you're risking. I think that's just a good logic to have. So it's not the worst in the world, but it would be nice to get it a bit earlier and probably double that risk reward just by doing that. But yeah, in terms of my expectation for dollar yen, again, not dollar yen, for euro yen, a bit more downside back into that low, probably even around here, and then we'll see maybe the buyers step back in later on. Maybe even go fill the gap. That is a possibility too. But for now, a bit more downside, then we'll go from there. In terms of CAD-C, Chef, or LEBZ, then we can take a look at BTC as well. Almost how has that happened? Too far, I haven't actually read too much into it, to be honest. I was too concerned with the FX situation. What's up, D-Mart? Welcome to the stream. Hope you are doing good. Because I was in a long position for CAD-C, Chef on Friday, but as soon as that kind of crash happened, it took, to be fair, I only just hit my stop loss before the week ended. But yeah, we saw a lot of momentum for CHF, a lot of momentum for USD and yen, and that's what wiped me out my position. Although I still kind of like Euro CHF longs, but not as much as I did last week. There's some better setups at the moment, which I've got my eyes on. But in terms of CAD CHF, you said you got into a long. You gave the price this morning 0.5723. That's around there. Your stops 0.57 and targets 5.8. It's up there. Okay, so you're very much looking for a big bounce here. Now, I like the idea because essentially you're saying, yes, the market's bearish, but it looks like it's running out of momentum. It looks like it's forming a bottom and going to pull back. And I do have the same bias. It's just I probably wouldn't buy it just yet. That's the only situation. I do think it's a bit early. Not early in terms of I do expect the market to keep falling a little bit. It's just early in terms of the way I look to trade. I would wait for the market to at least break structure or provide me some higher highs and higher lows. And then I'll hop into a long with the same expectation. Because I do agree, we are looking very fatigued. You can see with all this momentum here, it just looks really, really corrective. A lot of wicks, not a lot of momentum. So I do think we will see that pop to the upside. But buying now, I just think it's just a bit aggressive and a little bit early for my liking. I'm sure you got your reasons for the buy anyway. But yeah, I like the fact that we came crashing down on Friday, but all we did was just bounce off the low. So that tells me that, okay, support is really holding. It looks like we could be falling a bottom here. Personally, I would wait for that break of structure to happen. That will be my indication that, okay, the buyers are already entering, we're successful, we're breaking through highs. Then the next pullback after that will be something I'll be interested in to take to the upside and probably with a similar target as well, because 0.58 to me looks like a pretty big level of support, which probably will be acting as resistance. You can see multiple rejections here. Of course, it's a big psychological level. You know, price, as we do approach here, probably will find a bit of resistance, even if we are going to continue higher. So I think targets make a lot of sense. It's just personally, I would enter a little bit later, which probably doesn't set you up well in terms of, because ideally you want to buy as low as possible. So you are entering a little bit later. It's just you got added confirmation. Entering where you did enter puts you at a better price, but it's just a bit more aggressive. So, pros and cons is whatever your style is, whatever you like to choose. But I do have the same or similar bias to you. It's just I would wait for a little bit more development there before looking to find that long. But yeah, in terms of targets, I think makes a lot of sense. Yeah, BTC, an interesting one. Huge sell-off. I mean, XRP was violent. BTC had a big move there, but if you have a look at XRP, look at XRP there. Huge move in one day. I think the last time we made a move that big in one day probably goes back to here. That's Feb 25, and the thing is, this candle is probably slightly even bigger than that one. So you'd have to go back a little bit further, but that's more or less the volatility you're looking at. So very violent move there in XRP, and of course BTC saw a pretty big move there as well. Again, we were hinting this move. We weren't hinting this move in terms of the violent and how it did happen, but we were hinting that price is having a really tough time at breaking through resistance here. We had the first attempt, the second attempt, and price was struggling. So we were speaking about some shorts for BTC. We were speaking about some shorts. I actually gave a short signal. I said if price could run back to highs here, this would be a nice place for a short. Coming back into supply there, that would make sense for a short. And again, it's not because I've got a crystal ball and I can tell you exactly what price is going to do next. I absolutely can't do that. I can only just make educated guesses on what I'm expecting the market to do based on different components. But at the same time, it made no sense buying at this level. You can see rejection. It makes no sense buying. I did say, however, once price gets here, we can start to buy the market. But of course, there was no real rejection there. Price didn't really slow down. Even if you drop it intraday, there was no signs of price holding support. So even though I did talk about buys here, it made no sense given the context of what we were seeing. A really aggressive bearish momentum. Now, going into what I expect to happen next, I think we should keep it very simple. Trade the range. I would try and avoid opportunities in this area just because that's where all the chaos, that's where all the noise is. If I can look for an opportunity as price, spikes into the low here, and I can see like a recovery, that would be a great place for a buy, because again, this will probably shake out even more people. It will cause even a bit more panic. Price at lows there. That could just naturally be a great place for a buy, and you never know. Maybe you see a full swing back to the high of the range. So the opportunity in terms of the risk reward is there as well. In terms of where we're currently trading, perhaps there could be some shorts off this high here. Sort of like a weird head and shoulder pattern. But it wouldn't be my favorite opportunity given the context of where we're trading and how we're trading. Inside a big range, my best bet is always trading the low or the high of the range, or just waiting for the breakouts. So I'm not quite convinced with BTC right now. With anything at current price, I would wait for 107.200 to be hit in and around that area, then look for some long opportunities. Again, let's not forget, everyone's panicking right now. But if you look at the big context of the market, this is still extremely bullish. I mean, look at the momentum, look at the pullbacks. If you kind of take away the crash that happened on Friday, and the mass liquidation, just look at the market, you wouldn't think anything seriously happened. Everything is still looking very bullish to me. So I would still have that bullish bias, especially from a swing perspective. I still think this is a great place for a buy. Of course, we'll see when price gets there, see how we react. That's very important too. But yeah, don't really want to get involved here. Maybe a pushback to highs could look good. I'm not so interested, to be honest. That's what would interest me. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with BTC, but very interesting week. What's up, Jam? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. No problem, Levzy. Happy to help. GM, I do agree with BTC. Okay, yeah, cool. We'll come lower below 107 to take more liquidity. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll like 107, 200 or 107k roughly. That's where I would like the buys. I think in terms of your positioning, you're well positioned for a long. Raphael, long dollar CAD. I haven't actually, did I speak about dollar CAD today? I don't think I did. I missed out dollar CAD in my analysis earlier. So yeah, dollar CAD. This is an interesting one. So did manage to catch some nice buys. Get my words confused. Not yesterday, last week with this move here. Now, do I expect more upside? Kinda, but I just don't see a good setup to buy it. And to be honest, with this high here, that does put me off looking to long it. I still do think we can see a bit more upside because my long-term bias for USD is still up, at least for the next week. So I am still looking at strength on the dollar, but it's just not optimal right now with where dollar CAD is trading. As we poke our heads above highs here, this is naturally going to invite some sellers into the market. I don't really want to be buying that, especially on an intraday chart, to try and chance things. So I'm not seeing a great opportunity for a buy on dollar CAD. Perhaps if we can push to this area, there could be a short-term buy. Even from here, I wouldn't look for a big swing because of where we're trading. But I do expect to see a little bit of a bounce there. So if you're looking at buys for dollar CAD, I would suggest something like this for a bit of a bounce. But I would be quite pessimistic with targets. I wouldn't be looking too aggressive. But I do think dollar CAD is still very, very bullish. We're still seeing a lot of momentum there. I do think price will push back to highs. But preferably, I would like to see a deeper pullback. This is a really nice demand zone, which of course gave us that aggressive move last week. And at least when you're buying from here, you're kind of not trading directly into the highs. So you're kind of a bit away from the noise. But yeah, I would still be quite bullish on this one. But this would be my preferred opportunity. Pound USD, okay, we can take a look. Saeed, take profit for dollar yen, 151.112. The low of last week, pretty much. You could look at this as like a first take profit. It depends how you want to manage the trade, but you look at this area as a first take profit. So 151.9. I would say if you're interested in banking some partials, moving stops to break even, this could be a great area to do that, because if this trade's going to fail, or if I'm expecting buyers to come into the market, it's most likely from this level for us to do something like that. If this isn't going to happen, then this is what I expect to happen instead. So in terms of managing the trade and removing risk, I would say that is a great place to lock in some gains. But if you're looking for the full swing, as am I, then that's where I want to really exit the trade. To be honest, I think we can go further than this, and I will probably look to hold a little bit to run, but I'll at least take majority of my profit, 80% at that low, just to pay myself, because we caught a nice swing. But because of where we're positioned, I do think price can come back underneath this high here, probably into this area, maybe closer to that gap there too. So that's a pretty big move there. But again, I'm not really interested in taking all of that. Even a push to that low, there's a 1 to 3.4, so that's already a pretty healthy return. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with dollar CAD for now. Oh yeah, how do I want dollar CAD for the next high? Yeah, I mean, at this point it looks likely. Like I said, I personally would wait for price to push a little bit lower down. I think that's probably one of the few differences between how you and I trade sometimes. Sometimes we'll actually both look for like the similar pullbacks, like on Euro Aussie last week, but sometimes I look for deeper pullbacks. In this situation, I'll probably look for a deeper pullback here. But yeah, I do think we can reach the high as well. What's up, Lighter? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. What say he on USDZR? Yeah, we'll go for USDZR for you, no problem. Yeah, it's been a bit crazy. A lot of gaps in the market, a lot of volatility, which is a good thing for us traders. We like momentum. You just want to be in the right direction of it. But yeah, some interesting price action. Yusuf, my man, what's up? Good morning. My weekend was good. Yeah, pretty chilled weekend. Hopefully your weekend was good as well. Thoughts on Euro and GU longs? No problem. Yeah, we can go. I was actually debating taking some Euro longs right at the beginning of the stream. If you want to go back to the beginning, I was talking about Euro USD longs or dollar yen shorts, and it was pretty much a flick of the coin between the two. But I decided to get into dollar yen shorts instead. They're both taking advantage of USD weakness. The reason why I chose dollar yen just because the risk reward for the push back into the relative low was just a bit better. But yeah, I'll take a look at Euro for you, and we can go for GU as well. Edward Francis, what's up? We're trading Rwanda at the moment, Kigali, Rwanda. Going international. Okay, let's go through USDZR for light, and then we can take a look at Euro and Pound. So USDZR, ooh, look at this. I haven't looked at USDZR since Friday, since we last spoke about it actually. So yeah, really nice move to the downside. We talked about price taking out this low. I remember we talked about the reversal because you asked me what my long-term view was on USDZR, and I talked about price taking out this low and the reversal. Yeah, haven't quite seen that happen. I do think we could still take out that low, so I would still keep an eye on that. But we are looking pretty bullish right now. And we smash into resistance and open up looking pretty bearish. So I do think there's some longs here for USDZR. I'm liking this area. I would be patient with entries. The pullback is not quite optimal. It's quite aggressive, which means I would wait for us to kind of see some upside, create some support first, and then look for some entries off the back of that. I wouldn't want to jump straight in, especially when I'm going counter trend here as well. This is a nice demand zone, gave us this aggressive move. Pretty aggressive pullback, not how I like it usually. I like my pullbacks slower, more corrective. So I would wait for us to find support, push, then pull back, and then look for the buy. That could take 24 hours to develop, really. But I do like where we're positioned. And in terms of targets, I'll just keep it intraday, back to highs, not looking for anything crazy. This is a pretty significant level, so I wouldn't necessarily bet on price breaking through that, but I do think we can see a continuation back to resistance. And in terms of Euro USD, hopefully that made sense, Light. And if you do want me to go like intraday or swing, let me know as well. So Euro USD, I was looking at some longs for this one. Oh, look at that. Momentum's completely shifted. I think Euro is quite weak at the moment. But I was actually looking at some longs off the sweep of this low here. And I was looking at entry like that with some stops underneath the low. That would be in some serious drawdown right now, especially tapping into this zone here as well. Yeah, it looks like, because I'm not too sure, is DXY strong right now or is Euro weak? Okay, DXY is a bit strong. DXY could be looking to push into this zone here. That would be like a second attempt for a short on the dollar. But yeah, with Euro, I still like the longs in Euro. I'm still not ready to short euro at all. I want to see euro push back into resistance, basically anywhere in here. And that's where the target was this week for shorts on euro, wanting a pullback into this zone and then looking for the continuation, because especially with euro USD on the higher time frames, especially with the move we had last week, I'm not looking to short directly into this move, especially when we're coming back into bullish territory. So I do want to see us pull back closer to this area first, and then I can look for a continuation back into the low, maybe even this low here as well. I can see euro fall as far as that potentially too. So the long-term bias is very much short, but I'm looking to see if we can find some intraday strength. And at the moment, momentum is not playing ball at all. So what I would suggest with euro USD now, because of course price is trading back below this low, if this demand zone is going to hold, price does need to find support pretty quickly and start to push back up. It could be a situation where price is having one more push down before we do redeem this area and start to see that move. Equally what dollar is doing, so we could focus our efforts more so to this area here and then see the recovery. If we just break through this low altogether, then of course I'll scrap that bullish bias and then just expect the market to continue. But this is my preferred short area, and that's really where I'm waiting for the market to get to, hopefully later this week. But yeah, if the market is just going to continue and break through the low there, then of course the trend's just going to continue and price is going to continue falling. But yeah, if you're not entered any longs yet for euro, then keep an eye on this zone just below at 1.1577. And then from there we might recover, see that momentum back above that low, and that's your buy back into resistance. Let me have a quick look at the sentiment for euro USD. I want to see if people are still very short bias, or are they looking to buy because we've already had a big move down. Let's have a look, see. Okay, yeah, USD strength things, which is the same as me as well. I'm looking at USD strength as well. I'm hopefully looking for a pullback. Retail position that's crowded along euro position, a potential contrarian signal. Okay. So social media talking about USD strength, but retail positioning is very long. Very bearish, heavy focus on Fed, yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Looks like a lot of people are long. So potentially we could see price spike lower to take out the long traders before we do actually see the move. But yeah, it looks like people are expecting more USD strength, which is the same as me, but I'm just not expecting it just yet. And of course, if you do want to check out the platform, guys, just Zentrix AI, you do need 1,000 of the token to access the platform, which is roughly about $8. But you do have access to all features, which is all AI agents and of course trade signals as well. There's a bunch of signals every single morning, so I do recommend to go check it out. But yeah, in terms of the sentiment, we could see price maybe spike a little bit lower first before we do continue higher, but the bias is still very much the same. So yeah, and in terms of pound USD, which is euro's twin brother, you could say, which actually is holding up a lot better. So there's a clear sign that euro is a lot weaker than pound. And I have pretty much the same outlook as I have with euro as with pound, which is we've been very, very bearish on the way down here. I do expect us to come and test these lows here at 1.318 eventually, and that's very much my plan this week. If you didn't check out the weekly analysis, I basically said as long as price doesn't take out this high here, I am looking for us to do that. So very, very bearish on pound longer term, next 3, 4, 5, 6 days roughly. But can we see a bit more strength first before that selling pressure kicks in? That's very much what I'm looking at. We had a lot of strength on Friday. We had this bearish zone. Price broke to the downside. I thought at that point we were just going to see price continue. Momentum failed. Really aggressive reversal. Now I'm looking at this range giving us a bit of a continuation to the upside. I like it, especially because price just about spiked through this low here, which is basically the same setup as euro. But you can see we spiked for the low, had the recovery. In this case, if you took the buy at the same time, you'd be in some nice healthy profit here with pound, and that's simply because pound at the moment is a bit stronger. If I go take a look at euro for the exact same trade, you'd be in some drawdown right now, and that's just because of the relative strength of euro versus pound, but the idea is still the same. Yeah, so it could be a situation where euro just wants to come a little bit lower first before we push. Again, you can always re-enter the trade, and maybe just because pound's a bit stronger, it's going to have a slightly cleaner move. In terms of looking to buy pound, I'm not really seeing opportunity just yet. This was really the opportunity this morning. If you're looking to buy pound, I mean, you could still enter here, just your stop loss will be a bit bigger, and you're probably looking at maybe like a 1-to-1, slightly more than 1-to-1 back to resistance, which again might be for you, might not be for you. So that's kind of the take I have for pound, unless maybe price does come back down, back to lows, double bottom, and then we find a new entry. That could look good too, back to resistance. And yeah, soon after that, I do think price is going to form a lower high and come right back down. And hopefully it's a situation where we buy it to sell it. That would be a really nice trading week. If you could buy it up, sell it back down, catch both swings, you know, that's a beautiful trading week. Because if price does drop here, I'm not really interested about selling or buying. Okay, where was I? Raphael. Again, it depends on your lot size, depends on your stop loss. I can't just say, okay, stop loss here, stop TP there, because how much are you risking? For example, I could say stop loss here, but that might mean your whole account. Or I could say stop loss here, and that could still mean your whole account as well. It depends on your lot size and what you're looking for. So if you are going to enter a position now, it depends on what time frame you're trading, what move you're looking for, intraday swing, and you need a bit more information if I'm going to be of a bit more use to you. Like I said, that's the general idea I'll look at. Targets there, stop loss underneath that low. That's kind of how I take it, but that's for an intraday setup. Yes, we'll go through gold as well. New Zealand dollar, we'll take a look at that as well. Oh, okay, JPY CAD USD all bank holiday today. Interesting. We've seen a bit of movement, to be honest. We don't see the real move start to happen until Tuesday. New Zealand CAD Raheel, we'll take a look as well. Exactly, Lighton, 24 hours waiting window. I'll give it 24 hours. Holy one, these must bullish, hence, yeah, apart from Aussie. Okay, cool. I mean, we have the same bias pretty much. It's just that I'm looking for a deeper pullback on pretty much all those setups. So euro, I'm looking to short. Dollar CAD, well, dollar CAD I'm not really interested in, but euro I'm looking to short. Aussie I'm looking to short. Pound I'm looking to short. I'm looking to short all of those guys, but just at higher prices, which may or may not happen. Maybe we do get the higher prices, maybe we don't. But euro, I'm looking, kind of anywhere around there. Looking a bit more upside. And then the short, Aussie dollar, the same thing here as well. Looking a bit more upside, and then the short, and then pound USD. If I can spell it, there we go. Looking for again a bit more upside, and then the short later on as we approach maybe more so this area. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'm right to wait for those bigger pullbacks. Maybe I'm wrong, but judging how the pullbacks happen on Friday, that's what I would wait for. But yeah, I do think USD is likely to be bullish. BNK, sell on Aussie dollar, stop loss 0.655, around there. That's kind of where I'm looking to short it, to be honest. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you if price is actually going to get there or if your position is going to win or not. All I can give you is my honest opinion of what I'm looking to do with Aussie dollar, what my bias is, what the strategy is. And the plan is very much, okay, I'm looking to continue that momentum we saw from last week. I do think there's more downside to be had longer term. What I'm looking for is a bit more upside first before that short does come into play. And I like that zone there a lot. Basically, anywhere within here, I like the area for a short. It looks it doesn't look like Aussie dollar is quite ripe to short yet. It looks like it's a little bit premature. We saw a lot of momentum here. Very corrective, bearish move. That doesn't scream shorts to me. So I do think we'll probably see a bit more upside first. And then hopefully from here, we can get the sells we're looking for, push back to this level. So if you do get stopped out early, you can always look to re-enter. You know, it's never a situation where, okay, you're stopped out, let's just move on. You know, stay in tune with the market. Maybe you just did enter a bit too early. Find that entry, especially if you're trading with a positive risk reward, you can make back your loss and then some. Of course, if price does fall from here, great, congratulations. But yeah, I'm looking for a slightly deeper move there for Aussie before I do get short. So that's currently the plan I have for Aussie dollar. We'll go through gold and then we'll take a look at New Zealand dollar and New Zealand CAD. I don't think I've missed out any opportunities before that. If I have, I'm sure you guys will let me know. But yeah, we'll go take a look at NZD USD. Actually, we'll go for gold first. So yeah, gold looking very, very bullish. Yeah, I said for gold, okay, because we've just created new highs. I don't really want to buy here, but I would want to buy on a pullback. We've ripped through highs, so it's convincing that the trend is still alive and well and still kicking, but we are looking quite tired. Since we have broke through the high, I do think a bigger pullback is coming. And by bigger pullback, I mean something of this nature. I'm not necessarily talking about a huge dive, although I would expect that eventually, but for now, let's just focus on the buys for now. So I'm looking at something like this. I marked up this zone I quite like. Really aggressive move there. We are looking quite fatigued here. So I do want to see a bit of a drop first for gold, but the plan is still very much looking for buys. And it would be great if we can see a push into 40-20 for some longs and more of a complex pullback as well. That would be very nice. We could very much just continue from here and just continue chugging away. If that's the case, that's the case. But this is the opportunity I'll be a bit more favoring and looking to see if I can capitalize on. So very bullish for gold. Just created new highs. Now looking for the next wave, the next pullback to ride it. 4100 is the next big psychological level. That's probably our next big target. So yeah, in my book, there's still a bit more upside left in gold. And in terms of New Zealand dollar, now this one's interesting because I'm pretty bearish on New Zealand dollar as well. I mean, again, you expand to the higher time frames, you can see prices have been falling very, very well. So I'm pretty bearish there on New Zealand dollar, but it's just not at a great place for me to actually short. And I say that because you can see every time the market sweeps a low, it has a pretty big pullback. So low sweeps, pullback, low sweeps, pullback, low sweeps, pullback, low sweeps. Could be another pullback. Of course, maybe this time's different. Maybe we continue falling. I don't know, but I can only trade what's in front of me, what I'm seeing the market do on numerous occasions in this case. So I would naturally be quite concerned about shorting here, knowing that every time price has done this previously, we've had a pretty big pullback. So what I would wait for New Zealand dollar to do is have that bigger pullback, you know, possibly back into this area here. That's looking like a nice area of supply to me now. If price can give us that bigger pullback, that'd be brilliant. And then from there, I will bet on a continuation because, of course, the market is very, very consistent with all these lower highs, low high, low high, low high, kind of an equal high here. but then another lower high. So the plan is very much short bias. As long as we don't break structure, I'll be looking at taking New Zealand dollar further down. But similar to the other USD pairs, I'm looking for a slightly deeper pullback. Price could very much fall from here. It's just I'm not so interested with that, to be honest. If I drop to the 15-minute chart, how we're looking, yeah, it's not really looking attractive to sell, to be honest. Maybe a run back to the high here, and then a short at the high. That's not a bad place for a short back in supply. That could be a nice area, especially intraday. But I would like that bigger swing opportunity, back into supply, and then of course continue that trend. Okay, so we'll go take a look at New Zealand CAD next, which is a very similar pair to New Zealand dollar. Analysis pretty much the same, but we'll take a look nonetheless. Yusuf, okay, looking at shorts in euro. Okay, interesting. So you had a short bias, but you switched to a bullish bias. Is that what I'm getting? The thing is, that's a sort of similar situation to me, although I've always kind of knew the area which I'm looking to sell from. So I had a sell bias coming into the week for euro, and that is still very much the case, but I knew that I'm not looking to sell euro until we get up there. How we kind of shaped up from Sunday night to this morning is where the bullish biases come from. But yeah, I'm not looking to sell until we get up there. I understand there's a bit of a trend line here as well, connecting the highs, but not crystal clear. And it looks quite corrective to me as well. So I quite like one more buy before we continue lower. Okay, selling Aussie as well. Yeah, I just think we got a bit more upside for Aussie. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm saying exactly what Aussie dollar is going to do next, because I do not know. But I can always give you my honest opinion and my best judgment, my best educated guess, because that's all we're doing here, really. And that zone looks really attractive to me, ticks a lot of my boxes, especially with all this momentum here as well, and the way we've had this initial pullback. I do like the idea of Aussie pushing up a little bit further to come back down. Maybe Aussie dollar does drop from here and I miss the trade. That's the case, but I know that I'll be ticking my box as well, and I quite like what I'm seeing if we get back into that zone. So if we do that, be prepared for a re-entry, because I have a short bias as well, and just because you stopped out of a trade doesn't necessarily mean you had the wrong idea. It might mean maybe price wants to go a bit higher before it does fulfill what you're expecting it to do. So I would suggest, of course, see out your trade. I'm sure you entered it for valid reasons, but keep an eye on this area here as well if we do make that move. Buy on GJ as well, interesting. GJ buys I'm not there with just yet. I think there's a bit more downside for GJ. I'm looking, there's a big level on the 4-hour chart I'm looking to buy. We can run through that quickly. I'll go for New Zealand CAD first. Holy one not touching gold buys, okay. Oh wow. Yeah, I can imagine the RSI would be absolutely flying. It would have been doing that for a while. Oh yeah, of course, it hasn't respected it for a while. Okay, Yusuf, no problem. Thoughts, GJ, Aussie CAD 15.2. Okay, we'll go through New Zealand CAD first, and then I'll take a look at GJ and Aussie CAD intraday as well. And if you do want me to look at like a certain bias, swing or intraday, let me know too, because I do trade both. So let me know. But yeah, in terms of dollar, in terms of New Zealand CAD, I do have a short bias for this one. We've been pretty consistent with the lower highs. It has been super corrective, so I haven't necessarily been so keen to trade it. But similar to New Zealand dollar, as I said, every time we do sweep the lows, we have pretty big pullbacks. So as price sweeps lows, this is not the time or place to be looking to short it. But once we do have a bigger pullback back into bearish territory, back into supply, well, this is a place to short it, and we can expect potentially another low high to fall, or at least look for opportunities in that area. So equally with New Zealand dollar, if I'm looking to get involved here, at the very least a pushback here, preferably a pushback here. Because if the market's going to be very aggressively bearish, what we could do is have more of like an intraday pullback and then continue, maybe sweep some of these early highs, test that zone and then drop. If we're going to have a slightly deeper pullback and maybe see a whole week's worth of bullish price action, that could take us back into 0.812. Then from there, we might see some downside. So I would watch out for both areas. Both look good. One's a little bit more aggressive, a bit more intraday. One's a little bit less aggressive, waiting for a deeper pullback. And one's a bit more swing. Either which way, you're looking at shorts, continuing the momentum. Probably we could see price even push to this low longer term. So to me, there looks like a lot more downside left for New Zealand CAD. But we'll take it swing by swing for now. But yeah, that's kind of my take there, New Zealand CAD. We'll take a look at GJ first. So GJ, yeah, very messy, but this is really where my interest is for GJ. I push back into this level here because we had a very aggressive breakout on last week, at the start of the week, of course, with the gap. Now we've come back down pretty hard. So I'm not too sure if GJ is having a pullback here to find support to continue, or is price having a reversal? You know, is this kind of a failed breakout and price is coming back down to reverse? I'm not too sure yet. So I'm very keen to see what we do at this area here, because that will help shape my bias. If I do see price bounce here well, then yeah, I'm bullish back to highs, so on and so forth. If price does come crashing through that zone, yeah, I'll be bearish there on GJ. I would anticipate that as a big fake out, and I'll be looking at something like this happening and probably other yen pairs falling out the sky as well. So I can be bearish or bullish at a flip of a coin, really. It just kind of depends how we continue this retracement and also what we do at that zone. At the moment, we're looking pretty aggressively bearish in terms of this momentum here. I would still say there's a bit more downside to be had with GJ as well. I'm looking intraday. I quite like how we're shaped. We've just gone and swept the highs here as well. To me, it looks like price could be forming another lower high for a push back down into the lows there. I'm not quite convinced we turn around. If we do, and if we do have an aggressive turnaround, there could be some nice pullbacks after that on a retest, something similar to that. That could be a nice buy, because at least at that point you've got the reversal, you've got some bullish structure, you've got some momentum, then you're looking at the pullback and the continuation of that. At this moment in time, I would still say the market's kind of in bearish mode right now, bearish free fall. And to me, it looks like we've just had another pullback into highs for another sell. So I would be intraday quite bearish on GJ. If you're looking for a trade, maybe another spike to resistance and then a sell here, that could look good. Honestly, I don't think it's the best structure in the world. UJ structure is a lot tidier, hence why I'm trading that. But I would still say if you're intraday on GJ, sells for now make the most sense. I just talked about some sells in EUR yen, which look very, very similar. But I would say EUR yen looks a little bit better. You can see similar kind of spike to the upside above the high there. Strong rejection, just going broken through some structure. I do think EUR yen is likely to fall back into the lows there as well. So GJ, I do expect something similar to happen as well. In terms of Aussie CAD, UJ's barely budged. Momentum's dried, I guess. That's what bank holidays are going to do. But yeah, barely moved all stream. Anywho, in terms of Aussie CAD, let me start fresh for this one. Again, similar to the other Aussie pairs which fell out the sky last week, I'm kind of looking at a pullback of this bearish move this week for more downside, at least back into the prior low. So that's very much my take for dollar yen, a push back into this low, not dollar yen, Aussie CAD. It would be nice to see if we can retest that zone, because of course that's where the momentum came from last week. So it would be nice to see like a nice corrective pullback here, taking our time, push into the high and then a sell. That could be a really nice trade back into lows, so on and so forth. All you're betting for is that momentum is likely to continue this week, which I think there's a good chance of us doing that. So Aussie CAD, naturally a bearish bias. Now I'm still very much keeping an eye for the bulls, the bullish bias. I like this zone here for the longs, especially from a swing perspective. So that's where my eyes are focused on, but that might be a setup for maybe next week or even the week after. Depends how long it takes us to actually get there. But for now, especially more intraday, I like the shorts just taking advantage of that momentum. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Aussie CAD. Yusuf, good question. How many pairs do you trade in the 15? Well, initially the plan was just to trade majors, but I have opened up the door to minors as well. So at this point, like 30 pairs. But the thing with the 50-minute chart is because it happens so quickly, because with my analysis on the 4-hour chart, I very much do my analysis on the weekend, and that creates my forecast for the upcoming week. Because with the 4-hour chart, you only get 6 new candles per day. 6 new candles per day. So I have to check that. And 30 candles per week. So you don't get so much information every single week. You only get 30 new candles, which can do some damage, but for the most part, if you analyze well, you'll be prepared for pretty much any scenario. 50-minute chart you can't analyze on the weekend because too much information is going to happen. So for the 50-minute chart, I would analyze for the day, but I would only analyze the pairs which are on my watch list from the 4-hour chart from the weekend, if that makes sense. So for example, I might have like 6 pairs I'm going to focus on this week from the 4-hour chart, and then on the 15, I'll look for opportunities within that. So I'll also be looking at opportunities in the 4-hour chart. For example, like EUR USD, for example, I'm looking for shorts for this one on the 4-hour. You know, the plan is, okay, we've got this bearish trend here. I'm very much looking for the pullback and the short. So I would also look in the 15 for opportunities here too. And at the moment, I'm looking at some intraday buys, but also maybe I might take the shorts in the 15 as well. So I have the permission to look at basically all my major and all my minor pairs, but it's only within the watch list, because there's no way I can go through 30 pairs every single morning, look at 50-minute chart for all those 30 pairs and expect to be, you know, in a cool, calm mind. Too much information. You want to focus on quality over quantity, and I kind of, you know, filter everything on the weekend, and then I'll go into detail there. But for example, last week I took a Euro Aussie short on the 15. Yeah, that's a very minor pair, but I was also looking to trade it on the 4-hour too. So that's kind of my take. Okay, Aussie needs MA crossover, no entry, 85% ready, but entirely so waiting. That's the aim of the game, Holy One. If it's not quite ready, you know, patience, and eventually you should get your setup. And if it doesn't fall, well, there's no trade there for you. Walk away. Of course, easier said than done, but the thing is, at the end of the day, that's what you have to do. So it's easier said than done, but you know, you have to do it regardless. Yusuf, so GJ might fill the gap created last week. Potentially. I mean, I would expect us to at least get back to the low of last week, which is here, which would fill this gap, which started this week. As for this gap here, potentially, again, that's still a guessing game for now. Judging with momentum, I do think we can get to the low, but I can't necessarily be confident to say that price is going to fill that gap. But looking at momentum, yeah, I don't see us suddenly just running to the highs here. But yeah, this level is going to play a lot of importance, because if price does get here, starts to slow down, support starts forming, we can very much turn around. So that's where my focus is for now from a swing perspective. Intraday, I think shorts look good. Alex, yes, we can take a look at oil and US 30. Precious, Aussie, New Zealand dollar, we can take a look too. Oil's looking pretty bearish last time I checked. Bit of a bullish reaction this morning, but yeah, a pretty clear bearish trend. At this point in time, I do think price is going to make a move back down to support there. So I'll focus on the shorts with oil. It pretty much did what I wanted it to do, which is give us that commanding move to the downside, really tell us that the bears are stepping in, and that's exactly what we got. So price could pull back anywhere within here, and that would be a good place to look for a short. It could just be a break and retest. It could be a deeper pullback into this area. It could even be a test of the high. But anywhere in here is a good place to take a short. Looking at the intraday chart, things look quite bullish with that gap and then the momentum. So I do think oil can probably push up a little bit higher. But as soon as we get to 60.5 to around 62.5, 63, that's really the area I'll be looking for short. So it's a bit too early to say if we're gonna sell off from here or there. But what I would say is keep an eye on this, and as the week progresses, as we go through the live streams, I'll give you my walking commentary on price and how we do maneuver, and if it does look ready to short yet. But the first impression is healthy momentum. All the plan is looking to continue to short that momentum into this week and expecting eventually a push back to that low there. So it's a very, very bearish on oil. As for the Dow Jones, yeah, crazy end to the week. Really aggressive move down. And a bit of a weird gap as well to start everything off. Didn't quite have the retest of that level. I was kind of expecting us to bash into that there this week, since we closed so close to it last week. Not quite. It's difficult. There's not a lot of information here. We had this huge bearish move, and now we just opened up here, and this is all we have to work with today. Not a lot of price action, not a lot of information, not really trading in any area of significance. I would be very careful about doing anything in here. Just limited information, limited opportunity, I would say. I want price to kind of show me what it wants to do. Is this a pullback, or has price put the low in and now we're ready to push? I think by maybe Wednesday, Thursday, I have a bit more information with US 30. I can make a better call on what I'm expecting US 30 to do, because right now I have no idea really. For me, this is a perfect balance between it could be a pullback, it could be a reversal, and especially because it's US 30 as well. So yeah, not enough information for me to talk too much about US 30, unfortunately. I mean, this is still a nice area to short from, but again, we're nowhere near there, and how we get there will be very important. If it's quite aggressive, then I'm actually going to be looking at pullbacks for us to rip through. If it's nice and corrective, then yeah, that could be a nice place for a short, but we'll see as we develop through the week. No problem, Yusuf. Happy to help. Safari vlog. Yeah, I mean, it could actually, that would be a good little vlog there, actually. Yeah, I might have to get that up and running, I'm not going to lie. Good idea, Yusuf. Oh, oil short as well. Nice. Holy One very active today. Oh, okay, you need confirmation. I'm not ready yet. Okay, cool. But yeah, I agree. Looks really short bearish, short bias to me as well. So similar idea. And as for Aussie New Zealand dollar, yeah, not a big fan of this one. I was looking for price to rip this low, respect this demand zone, and then buy. But of course, with all that volatility we had on Friday, it broke through that and actually poked its head slightly underneath there. Now, with Aussie New Zealand dollar, especially higher time frames, we're more or less coming to major resistance here. So I'm being more cautious for my bullish bias. There's a lot of bullish momentum, and quite naturally, you're going to be looking to buy the market. But as we come back to resistance, I'm a bit more skeptical, especially when price is quite overextended. it might be due a bigger pullback. So I would suggest we are coming into a bit of a range here. So the plan now would be looking to see what we do at the highs and at the lows. From a bullish standpoint, you're naturally looking to buy at the low and keep an eye on wicks. And likewise, from a bearish standpoint, looking to sell at the highs, but I'm not so bearish yet on this one, so I'll be more focused with the bullish idea. If we do manage to break to the downside, this could be the start of a bigger pullback. So that could be an interesting short idea. Likewise, if we do break to the upside, it shows signs that the trend's still continuing and we can keep pushing. But for the most part, I would say this is a bit of a range. So treat it like one. Look at the lows, look at the highs. Don't be so too bothered and caught up about the price action in the middle of things, because that's not really where the interest lies. Focus at the highs, focus at the lows. Keep an eye on breakouts. And if you do get to the low or the high, reject well, you can look for some opportunities there, although I would focus more on the buys, because at least with the buys, I'm in tune with the market direction. Sells, I'm kind of betting against the trend, which is just naturally a little bit harder. But yeah, very, very flat at the moment. But I'll focus my efforts at the high and low. One trade, a euro short owning. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I thought you said you were in oil buy, but oil short, but you just said you were keeping an eye. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, you're more active than me in the market, so. But again, I wouldn't say you're crazy active. I've seen some very active people. Anywho, we have come to the end. Oh, look at that. Finally a bit of momentum there. Right at the end of the stream. I mean, I say a bit of momentum. It's barely budged, to be honest. We're probably in about 15, 16 pips of profit. It's not even at a 1-to-1, so still a long way to go to hit targets, but I am looking at that low there. Momentum is picking up, which is nice. It means that we kind of, well, hopefully we've caught the high. You know, as price swept the high there, taps into that area. Looks like we potentially have caught the high. The big deal breaker with this trade is going to be this zone here. If the market is going to find support here, it could get sticky, because that's kind of where I would expect the trade to fail. If the market just rips through that, then I'm looking very good, and there's a good chance we get there. So that's really where my focus is going to be, especially with momentum kicking in now. But for the most part, looking good. Rejected that area pretty well. And I do expect us to head back there for at least this week. I do think we can go further as well. Probably look to try and trail further than that. But yeah, we'll see how we get going. I think we can get back underneath that high there too. That would take me probably close to a 1-to-4 there. But yeah, I'm not going to get too greedy. That's my initial target. I'll respect that, but I will look to try and hold a little bit to run. Anywho, we have come up to the end of the stream. I will update you on the position, how it gets going. Of course, we'll probably go through it again tomorrow, tomorrow's stream. No problem. Precious, happy to help. Yeah, I mean, of course, that would naturally affect NZD and give us a weakness. Although the thing with Aussie and New Zealand dollar is that Aussie and NZD are very, what's the word? They correlate very aggressively. Even when NZD sees some weakness, which happens to NZD, because of their correlation, Aussie sometimes feels the effect too. So when NZD's weak, so is Aussie. So sometimes the best pair to take advantage of a cut on a currency like NZD or Aussie is probably with another currency pair like a dollar or a yen. Of course, you have to see what the technicals are saying on those currency pairs, but sometimes trading Aussie and NZD together, actually most of the time, can be quite corrective. Of course, there's opportunities there, just like any market, but they are very, very similar currencies. Anywho, guys, I appreciate you tuning into the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have found it useful, informative, educational, had a bit of fun as well. If that's the case, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. And if you are interested in the memberships, do check them out. I do post my trade ideas there, what I'm looking at, members only videos as well. So if you are interested, go check it out. I will be live again tomorrow, same time as always, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time. So I hope to see you all there. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Drop a like before we leave. Subscribe to the channel. Hope you have a great day. I'll catch you all in the next one.
6 AI agents, each built with a unique edge. Miko, AI, Team Leader. Ori AI, Fundamental Analyst. XAU, AI, Technical Analyst. Mesa, AI, Risk Management Specialist. Fenwa, AI Market Sentiment Analyst. And Naledi AI, the cryptocurrency expert. Together, they're engineered to protect, guide, and transform your trading. The future of trading is here. Experience Zentrix AI.